This Transformers statue saved me tens of thousands of dollars, and then 2 years later, cost me even more. Find out why. Welcome to the Extreme channel. My name is Mr. X. Before we get started, if you like cool collectibles, we're giving away some. First, right here are 2 Venom statues we're giving away. Hit that like button and stay tuned towards the end of the video and you can find out how to win these. Second is every month we give away Extreme prizes on the 15th of each month, just little gift baskets to you. So if you comment in any video, you have a chance of winning that. The more comments you make and the more videos you do, the more likely you're going to win. But today we are looking at this Prime 1 Studios Lockdown statue from Transformers Age of Extinction. Little bit of background on this guy. This is Lockdown. Lockdown is from the 4th installment of the live-action Transformers films with Michael Bay. Lockdown was an interesting character. I think technically he was a Decepticon, a bad guy, but he was more of an international bounty hunter. And what's interesting is, in this film, there was kind of a number of different villains. He was just one of them. And at certain times, he had a primary role, and other times he had a secondary role. Here's a scene with him.
I feel sorry for you, Prime. Your allegiance, these humans. The trouble with loyalty to a cause is that the cause will always betray you. Never is here.
So he worked kind of in conjunction with the humans, kind of in conjunction with the Decepticons. A very strange role, but he was a kick-ass character that I really wish they had done more with. The movie I'm not a huge fan of, but I am a huge fan of the characters and the design of them. One of the other reasons I'm such a big fan of this character is he transforms into my dream car, my favorite car, a Lamborghini. Pretty neat. Before we dive into the Extreme review, I want to talk about what I said in the beginning. So this was the first Transformers piece I ever purchased. I purchased him on eBay, got him in, he was in perfect condition, and I fell in love. I fell in love with the design, how good Prime 1 Studios did it, and I followed up with a number of 3A Transformers that are slightly different scale to this. We'll talk about scale with design. And those are more articulated, a little bit cheaper, a little bit smaller, but still very, very cool. And one day I had my Transformers display going and I decided I needed to move him. And so what I did is I picked him up and I thought I was holding his legs because his legs are a separate piece than his torso. And I was not, but I picked him up apparently from his torso and the magnet was so strong it held in until I moved about 2 feet. And then his legs fell and shattered. Not broke, shattered. This was probably one of my first large breakages of statues, where it was something completely destroyed, which sucks because he's a $1,600 piece. I was extremely upset, but not as upset as Mrs. X. But anyway, we went ahead and put him back in the box, and what's interesting is he actually comes with some other characters on this dial, which we're going to talk about. I sold those off, and I actually rebought them, and we'll talk about that more later. But since then, I've semi-repaired him. He's actually not fully repaired. During design, I'll show you some of the parts that are still broken off. His leg right here is just sitting. It's just gravity holding it together right now because for some reason, certain statues, there are some glues that just do not work. The glues just laugh at them, and this is the case here. But we're going to do an in-depth review, and as always, we're going to start with concept on this piece. With concept, it follows the entire Michael Bay Prime 1 Studios Transformers line. What do I mean by that? Well, first is they have these gigantic bases, and they have these futuristic Cybertronian elements with a symbol in the front, whether it's a Decepticon or an Autobot, and he's no exception. He is a circular base where most of them are square, so that's a little bit different, but a lot of different things going on here. Oversized base, and as you move up him, he is in what we call a museum pose. This means he's posing for a picture. He has some slight action where he's almost walking, and as you move up his body, you see all the different inner workings of when he transforms from a car into a robot, and it's pretty cool. Some of the stuff you're going to see in Paint and Sculpt, and he's fully decked out. He has a number of different display options showing his different weapons, including different portraits. Just very, very cool museum pose, very, very stand out. And what I really like about him is in the movie he actually had some dogs, and he came with those dogs. Here they are right here. Now when he shattered completely and I thought all hope was lost, I ended up selling those dogs for about $400. However, recently, Prime 1 Winter Sale, I repurchased them for $250. So they are on their way back. They're actually shipping right now. I'm going to do a review when they come in. So I think that adds to the statue as well. It adds to the concept of the character. And as I said, he was just such a badass character. Overall concept, let's grade it. I think it's similar to other Michael Bay Transformer pieces from Prime 1. It follows the movie. It's a stoic museum pose. Making these action would take up even more room. I'm going to give the concept a W for rail. Rail means it's not a grail, but a statue you would almost really want. A statue you would really want. Now we're going to talk about design on this piece, and you're going to see some similar patterns with a lot of the other Michael Bay Transformers. At the end of this video, I'll have a link to all the other ones I own, because that's kind of where my collection's going. I actually recently purchased some Maji cases just for them. They're going to be in a center display. It's pretty cool. But design-wise, a few different things going on. Let's talk about the switch-outs first, because there's a lot of them. First, on either hand, he can have a open palm or a closed fist. But also on the right hand, you can have a hook. And this is the exclusive version only, so only 500 of the 1,500 made actually have this. But it's a very, very cool piece. He used it in the movie to kick some Autobot ass. Or he has a giant gun. And this is actually used multiple times in the movie. Here's a scene where he's actually using it.
Never is here.
And then you have two different portraits, and I love them both. First is his normal portrait, and we're going to look at it close with paint and sculpt, but there's a ton of detail in this. Very, very movie accurate. Or a battle face shield sculpt, which he uses as well, which is really, really cool. And really quick, here's some of those broken pieces. Now some of these, I still have the piece, I just haven't got it reassembled. And what you're not seeing is you're not seeing the other thousands of broken pieces I've actually already glued together. Some of these I can't repair because this piece that broke off literally shattered into tiny pieces you need a dustbuster to clean up. It was crazy. I also dropped it on my foot, which was fun, by the way. One really strong thing about this is the magnets are extremely strong. That's why the body was holding the bottom when I picked them up, but it's no exception for the arms. The head is also turnable, which all the Transformers do that. A little bit nice. There is a light up feature, but I'm actually out of batteries right now and I never use them anyway. The batteries that are in there were in there day one, but now they don't work anymore, which is very typical with Transformers. So if you tuned in to see that light up feature, I'm sorry, go cry to your mom. And if that ticked you off, you can cry to your mom about that too. But on this piece, some negatives we're going to talk about. Number one is, not with this piece, but I've been doing a lot of weird hand signals lately. I've been doing this, and I don't know why. With this guy right here, number one, and I say this about all the pieces, is the size of the base sucks. It's way too big, especially for this character. They could have scaled down the base by 30 to 50% easily. However, one nice thing they did do with this one is I wish they would do it with all of them. When you insert the Transformers, the Prime 1 Michael Bay Transformers onto the base, a lot of time the feet are female and the base is male. When that is the case, that is a good thing. So what I mean is there is a peg sticking up from the base and there is a hole in the foot of the Transformer. However, some of them are the opposite. The hole is in the base and the peg is an extension on the bottom of the foot. When they do it like this one, where the foot is female and the base goes into it, technically you can display this without the base. It's probably not recommended, but I've done that with a few pieces simply for the fact that it reduces the room. Now, one thing you're thinking is, Mr. X, well, that's where the dogs go. You're absolutely correct, but it still just takes up way too much space. Another negative thing about him is they're Masterline scaled. They're non-scaled, which realistically, we don't know how big a Transformer is in real life unless you've seen one, which I have not. But most people assume these are about 1/10 or 10 times smaller than what they'd be in real life. He is underscaled compared to the other characters. In the movie, he was a little bit smaller, but not significantly smaller. Optimus Prime, who I have on order right here, is going to dwarf this guy, which is very unfortunate. So I think that's a big negative with this piece, and maybe that's one of the reasons he's still available, because he is really cool. But with design, I think there's a lot of pros, a lot of cons. We're going to give it right in the middle a V for very nice. They did some cool things with the switch outs. We're gonna dive into paint and sculpt, and with sculpt, it's a little bit more about engineering, but there's definitely some sculpt to this guy. Looking at the sides of the base here, it's interesting, it's symmetrical, it's nice. You know, I wonder where they come up with these concepts. Is someone just sitting around and be like, okay, this is what Lockdown should look like? But it's okay. Here's the Decepticon symbol in the front, a semi-Decepticon symbol, a little bit different. Here's the top of the base, very much like the sides, very symmetrical, very even, very clean. I like that part of it. But it's so much wasted space even with the dogs on it. And a big pro, looking at the paint on the bottom here, it's a mix between silvers and blacks, and there's a little bit of golds, and you're gonna see that on his body, but it contrasts pretty well. And there's some other colors on his body. Then let's start with that. So they all have these weird grappling type feet. And you see that here, these are parts that were broken off and are slowly re-glued back on. But you immediately start to see some parts of the Lamborghini, which is cool. You start to see some of those engine parts on the back of the feet. On the back of his legs, you actually see some of the transparent red glass panel from the Lamborghini. On the front where his knees are, you see the calipers, brakes. And this is so layered on here, and part of it looks like it's worn, which I think they did a great job. And moving up, you see some shocks and springs on his legs. This is probably one of the most intricate ones, to be honest with you, with all the engine parts just mixed in. I love how they did it. And then just layering armor on top of that. Moving to his back again, just here you see a lot of more inner workings and circuitry. And then moving up his back, I love his spine. Very, very cool. And you see the windows from the Lamborghini on the side of it and some vents. This is just a really, really badass piece. Checking out his torso again, look at all this, the intricacy of this. It is crazy. So many different things going on. I don't know which parts of what are the Lamborghini. And here's where they're adding more colors, just like some of those other parts. You see some copper wiring. Let's look at his arms here. So much crazy stuff going on. See the tires on the back? See almost like these ammo packs. His hook is very, very cool. Like the pincers on it, very badass. This is clearly not an exclusive or bust, but this is really cool. Check out his gun, equally cool. You can see more parts of the car mixed in with it. Let's look at his regular portrait first. Very movie accurate, as I said. What I really like about this is his face, while it's humanoid, you can really see all the robotic parts of it. So you can tell it's a transformer. Just a crazy character they created. So much cool detail on here. You can see some mechanisms and wirings on the head and the sides. The green eyes, a very subtle expression, which they all have, but this is kind of the expression he had in the movie. And initially when I got it, I thought for sure I would display the other portrait, but usually I end up displaying this one. And here is the other portrait. Has that battle mask, that transparent green on front. He's ready to kick some ass. Very, very cool. I'm having trouble coming up with words, to be honest with you. So one of the things they did here, when I look at this paint, I think that paint's kind of boring, but that's the color of the statue in the base, and I think they did an excellent job mixing it together, adding some highlights where they need to make the statue not as monotonous and boring. So honestly, I'm going to give the paint a 4 out of 5. It's a W, and I think the sculpt is the exact same. There is so much intricacy on here. It's almost an X, but I just can't bring myself to giving it an X because I'm in charge of the rankings and I can do what I want. We're going to talk about value because, believe it or not, he's still available on Prime One's website. If you're looking for him, I don't know if they're low stock yet or not, but they should be doing their summer sale in a couple months, virus dependent, where I know in the winter sale, I think he was like $1,100 or something like that, ridiculously cheap. He normally goes for $1,600. So at his retail price for $1,600, keep in mind he comes with the dogs. I think the value is right in the middle as a V, very nice. We're seeing Transformer pieces really start at $1,800 to $2,300 now, up to $3,000 for some of them, which I think is definitely overpriced. So the fact that he's still $1,600 and you get a lot with him, I think is a great deal. If you can pick him up for $1,200 or cheaper, then that's a steal. I would definitely get that. But he's an awesome addition to the Transformers line and just a very unique, cool character. So overall, he's going to get a V. He's very nice. I think he is well done. There's some cons for sure. The fact that mine's broken probably is affecting this score a little bit, but it is an awesome piece. I'm glad I have him. Now, if you're interested in winning those Venom statues, what you need to do is make sure that, first of all, you've liked this video. If you want to win another gift prize, make sure you have commented on this video. And then make sure you're subscribed and you have that bell notification, because when we hit 10,000 subs, we are going to announce the Venom giveaways, and we also have a ton of other giveaways coming up. But I really appreciate you guys watching today. Let me know your thoughts on Lockdown, and I will talk to you soon. Take care.